All right, I want to call the Water and Sewer Utility Board meeting to order, dated February 10th. First off, we have the approval of the consent agenda. Want to ask each of the board members if they have anything they want to take off the consent agenda and talk about later before I read all this stuff. Not? Nope. The consent agenda has minutes to the Water and Sewer Utility Board meeting on January 26, 2026. The payroll from the week ending January 25th, 2026, $537,169.25. Payroll the week ending February 1, 2026, $292,737.67. Accounts payable voucher register, pay requests, PM agreement for Sunrise Lab equipment, and the approval of master services agreements exhibit E. So I believe that's everything on the consent agenda. If there are any questions or comments, otherwise I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda. So second. Thank you. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye and the motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have new business of the 2017 A sewer bond and 2019 A sewer bond. Approval to advertise for public bids for the Eagles Lift Station Replacement and Force Main Completion Phase 2 project, U1078, recommended by Logan Guffey and Ryan Meyer. Logan.
Good afternoon. So this Eagles Phase 2 project, number U1078, consists of the completion of an existing partial 12-inch force main, which was installed during the previous Phase 1 of the Eagles Lift Station and Force Main project. That project was in 2018. The completion of the force main would involve installation of new 12-inch force main segments at Morgan Avenue, Oak Grove Road, and Old Boonville Highway along the east side of the Crawford Brandy Stitch. It would include the retirement of the existing 8-inch force main from the Eagles Lift Station to the south of Oak Grove Road, and a few gravity sewer improvements included in there as well. If approved today, then the project would run for advertisement in the Courier and Press this Friday the 13th and next Friday the 20th, which would establish a bid opening date of March 10th. So at this time, I'd like to seek the board's approval and happy to answer any questions.
Board have any questions for Logan? Here's not. Okay, I would recommend a motion for the approval to advertise for public bids for the Eagles Lift Station Replacement and Force Main Completion Project 2 project, U1078.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I vote aye and the motion carries. Thank you, Logan. Next on the agenda is the 2022A water bond and 2017A sewer bond. Approval of the interlocal agreement for relocation of water and sanitary sewer lines related to the reconstruction of Oak Hill Road from Lynch Road to St. George Road. Project number U1189, recommended by Mitch Ferguson and Ryan Meyer. Mitchell.
Thank you. Good afternoon to the board. This project includes the relocation of approximately 5,300 linear feet of 8-inch PVC water main, 1,700 linear feet of 8-inch PVC force main, and approximately 600 linear feet or 650, linear feet of 10-inch gravity sewer main between St. George Road and Lynch Road along Oak Hill Road. These improvements address conflicts with the planned roadway and stormwater improvements project from Vanderbilt County Engineer's Office. This agreement will allow the utility work to be constructed concurrently with the roadway and stormwater improvements. This will minimize disruption to the public, adjacent property owners, while also ensuring proper sequencing with the county's construction phasing. Exhibit A within this agreement reflects the water and sewer portion of the county's low bid totaling $2,485,826.26. So at this time, I recommend approval of this interlocal agreement and will then answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for Mitch?
No question.
Okay, with that, I'm recommend a motion for the approval of the interlocal agreement for relocation of water and sanitary sewer lines related to the reconstruction of Oak Hill Road from Lynch Road to St. George Road, project number U1189. Have a motion and a second. Thanks. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. We're already to the miscellaneous section of the agenda. First item on the in the miscellaneous section is approved construction monitoring and flagging agreement with Rail Pros as part of the Eagles Lift Station Replacement and Force Main Project U1078, recommended by Logan Guffey and Ryan Meyer. Logan.
Thank you again. So again, this is for the Eagles Phase 2 project. This construction monitoring and flagging agreement is a requirement for the continued use of the standard pipe license agreement, which was secured in Phase 1 of the Eagles project. EWSU is required to use the services of Rail Pros to observe the work being performed on the project by EWSU and its contractors, and to communicate with the railroad, Norfolk Southern in this case, regarding any issues that may arise during the project. EWSU is also required to utilize Rail Pros to perform the railroad flagging services according to Norfolk Southern's work order system. And Rail Pros would be their qualified staff to provide that service. So at this time, I would recommend the construction monitoring and flagging agreement, and happy to answer any questions.
No questions? Okay, with that, I would recommend a motion to approve construction. I'd recommend a motion to approve construction monitoring and flagging agreement with Rail Pros as part of the Eagles Lift Station Replacement and Force Main Project U1078.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, Logan. Next up is to approve the changes to the EWSU purchasing policy recommended by Keith Penny.
Good afternoon, members of the board. A year ago, we brought to you, year and a half ago, a purchasing policy, and there's some things that we wanted to get revised and cleared up. So in this new one, some of the changes that we've made, a better understanding of what purchases stands for. In the past, we've taken the notion of from $1 to $150. That was any type of purchases that we did. But that really stands more for like materials, non-professional services, things like that. So we made that clearer in the policy. We've also defined what professional services stands for in the policy, and set a range for professional services. Basically, any professional services under $50,000, we've always approved at the executive level. Anything before that, higher than that, comes here to the board. We're just getting that clearer written in here. But the major part that we're wanting to change are alternative statutes for public work projects. Indiana law provides alternative procurement statutes to improve efficiency, manage risk, and address financing challenges beyond the traditional public works process under Indiana Code 36-1-12. Indiana Code 36-1-12, which is what we commonly use now. It's a default public works law, requires competitive bidding and awarding to the lowest bidder. And that's what this board is used to us bringing forward. We're also wanting to utilize Indiana Code 5-30, which is a design build method. It's a single contract for design and construction, provides the best value selection, and as well as Indiana Code 5-23, which is a public-private agreements. Private partner may design, build, finance, operate facility, and then transfer it back to the utility. So some advantages of Indiana Code 5-30, which is the design build. It's a single contract for design and construction. This reduces the coordination issues that might have by having two different vendors doing that piece. You can get a best value selection, allows consideration of qualifications and technical approach, just not the lowest bid. There might be some projects where we don't necessarily want the lowest bidder. We want the company that's is more efficient, beneficial to the utility, and this will allow us to do that. And you can also speed up delivery time by overlapping design and construction. Currently we go through the full design phase and then that gets sent out for bidding and then construction starts. By compacting this together, it speeds up our time. And there's also the possibility of fewer change orders and improved cost overruns by having the same company manage both parts of design and construction. You can have a better cost controls. So advantages of Indiana Code 5-23, which is a public-private agreements, is it's a private partner. They can finance construction if necessary, reducing the immediate debt impact. It transfers long-term operations and maintenance risk to the private entity. Life cycle performance standards ensure asset condition when the utility takes control. So keep in mind, just because this sounds like another company might be fronting the money, in the end, the utility owns the asset and takes possession of the asset. And then it allows for potential for rate smoothing and cost certainty over decades. So we're not hit with a lot of large cost up front. Some key differences, Indiana Code 36-112, it just focuses on a low bid procurement. 5-30, it improves delivery efficiency, and 5-23 adds potential financing assistance and life cycle transfer risk. The utility is asking for this opportunity to use these other options as well for greater flexibility for complex projects, ability to manage risk and schedule more effectively. In the end of it, all projects will still come before you for approval. So, none of that's circumvented. You do have the final say on everything that gets awarded. We're just looking for other options that allows us to be more efficient.
So I assume with the two new options, they'll still get bid out, but it'll be one package, design and build.
Yes, in the design build, things do get bid, but you don't have to go through the exact time frames what we do with the current bidding process. And Sean, some of this would probably elaborate a little bit more on how they flow, but it's a more streamlined process.
And how do you decide which option to bid a project out for? Are there?
Well, that's part of what we're wanting to do. And so as we put projects together, the three different procurement methods will allow us to choose the best procurement method for the best project and cost. Okay. Typically, we've always done design, get it all the way through. We come in here, we ask to advertise, we go through that process. In the design build, you have the ability to put out the RFP to get proposals in, review those proposals, and the engineering typically ends up underneath that contract so they can move the both at the same time, right? And we get to award based on who the engineer is, who the contractor. So we have to set that playground. The last one in that is the BOT, is that public partnership where we can enter into an agreement with somebody that has to engineer it, build it, prove that it works, and then transfer it over to us.
Okay.
That's how the three different procurement method works. So what we want to do is, as we're doing certain projects, and if it's a standard water line, we may want to continue to do what we've done, right? But if we do a specialized project that we're only going to do one time and we're not going to get efficient, it might make sense to build, operate, transfer, make that person responsible for proving everything works in the best interest of our ratepayers.
Okay, thank you.
So if you go with option 2 and you put it out for RFP, does that still come in front of the board to decide who you proceed with?
Correct. We would go through our selection process and everything, and we would bring the contract in here and everything for the board to approve.
I might add that the board would still have the opportunity to decide, if staff came to you and said, we want to use the build, operate, transfer, and you felt it was better to go a different route, you'd still have that ability. So it just provides the staff with the ability to recommend the best delivery system up to the board to decide whether they agree with that or not.
Exactly.
And part of the advantage of the two new options too is that depending on the complexity and the experience of the contractor, you may not have to go with the low bid like we have to do now.
It can be
correct?
selection based, and you have to kind of set that criteria beforehand so that you know what it is, and it can help take some of that out. And one of the advantages a lot of times is with those is you can make sure there's no change orders. That's part of the risk sometimes that you can make them take.
And when, assuming we approve this and bids come before the board, will we know? I guess we'll know if it's just design or if it's design build or whatever as we're going through the.
Right. So in our normal process, when the staff comes forward and we've got a project and we come to ask to advertise, we still have to go through all that process. So you guys are going to know right then and there. And if you at that point go, hey, why did you choose that selection? Right.
Under the public works section where competitive bidding and awarded the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, is that different from the language that's currently used? Is that already in our bidding
Oh,
process?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I've seen it was in there. I didn't know if it was something we added. I
No.
thought it was.
No, that's taken straight from, what you see there is taken straight from.
Okay. That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, good deal. Any other questions from the board? If not, I would recommend a motion to approve the changes to the EWSU purchasing policy. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I vote aye and the motion carries. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the December 2025 flash report presented by Adam Moore. Hi, Adam.
Hello, members of the board. Afternoon. So if you'll remember, Keith and I have been presenting these on a quarterly basis. And now that we've closed out 2025 in December, we wanted to just make some quick remarks. I'll begin on the water side. The attachment in your agenda packet starts with water at the top. We'll look at the top line number, the revenues. You'll see compared to December a year ago are showing up almost 3%. So we've been very pleased with the strong growth that we've seen there. The middle section represents the operating expenses incurred in December. You'll again see that those are down almost 1%. We've at each quarterly report that we've brought before you, we've seen decreases through the whole year. So we've been very pleased with the expense control measures that we've really tried to implement this year. And so I think that really speaks to the executive team's control of those and our success at doing that throughout 2025. That's primarily led by our lower reliance on contractual services, trying to bring talent in-house and provide those services ourselves. So that's really made an impactful difference on the water side of things. What that translates to in the third and the bottom section on the first page is the increase to our net position of almost $1.8 million. So we're very pleased with 2025 on the water side. Before I jump right into the sewer side of things, do you all have any questions on water, the revenue expense, or the net position segments? Nope. Okay. Moving on to sewer, the top line number you'll see is down just slightly, really flat year over year, about 0.5%. The expenses is where we wanted to focus our discussion today. There is an increase there. That's primarily led by chemicals, purchase power, our electric usage, and the sludge removal. If you'll remember, we had a dump truck earlier in the year that was there was an incident and we had to take that out of use. So the sludge removal was contracted out, and that is certainly fed into the operational expense increase that we've seen this year, as well as the purchase power. I don't think anyone's been exempt from that over the last few months, and that's certainly made a difference in our operational expenses. You'll see by that increase. And then the last thing that has contributed to that, it's really more of a housekeeping measure that Keith and I have decided to do. Previously, the way joint cost, the sharing of expenses between water and sewer for employees that do work on both sides, that was being recorded a month prior rather than current month. And just in an effort to have a better look and more accuracy about what is being spent in any one month, we decided to catch that up so that we are looking at that expense in the most current month. The downside to that is that means you need to catch up the prior month and the month you're in. So that number is twice what it normally would be. However, that's a one-time adjustment. And that now that is done, we'll be able to look at this in a much more accurate number of what we are actually facing in any one month. So those four things combined make up that increase that you'll see in the operation expense number on the sewer side of things. And what that means for our net position, you'll see there at the bottom, that is down slightly versus December of 2024 to this past December. But between the factors I've discussed, and if you'll remember from some of my previous remarks, our depreciation expense, because of our effort to capitalize all of our assets and make sure that we are appropriately moving things onto our balance sheet, that depreciation expense has jumped fairly significantly. So between the depreciation, the four things that I mentioned in our operational expenses, that's contributed to the slight decline that you'll see in the net position at the bottom. That wraps up sewer. Before I move on and just make one or two quick remarks on the cash and investments, do y'all have any questions on the sewer information? No. The last section is just the cash and investment balances. And really all you'll see there is movement from one to the other, or some of the decrease in the cash is obviously paying out of expenses, debt payments, that kind of thing. So both sides, that is movement from cash to investments. We've really been trying to capitalize on the higher interest rates that we're seeing in the market and try to help offset some of those operational expenses. So that's what that movement is there. Any questions on the last section or anything in the previous two that I can answer for anyone? Nope.
Doesn't look like it.
All righty.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, it appears like that's everything on the agenda for this meeting. Does any of the board members have anything for the good of the cause to bring up, ask, or cheer on? Nothing?
But I just wanted to comment one thing on the flash report. I know on the sewer expenses, it showed it had an increase of 9% for the year, and that's contributed to the things Adam mentioned. If you take out that joint cost dual payment, our expenses drop down to 0.9% increase for the year. That's how much of an impact that one-time payment had. So even with the $800,000 in excessive spending between CenterPoint, chemicals, things that are out of our control, we would have had a decrease in expenses in sewer. So we've had really good controls on the sewer side. So I just want to make sure that point gets driven out there. The sewer operations have done a great job of controlling expenses.
So in 2025, we have 13 months of those type of expenses, not 12, correct?
Correct. Yes, it basically added $1.4 million to the expense. So we'll see that when we compare against this year's return, flash, we'll see that gain.
Good deal. Vic, your staff, anybody have any?
Well, I'll come in first and yeah, I do want to commend the four directors you see here for their efforts to control costs. We've been working very hard at that for the last 2 years, and I think we're really making good progress at getting the house in order and making sure that we're using every dollar as wisely as we can. And we can see a lot of good response from all our employees, especially the maintenance employees from the Teamsters. They have done a very good job of taking on those duties. And I think we can all be very pleased with our teams and their efforts to control costs. The second thing I wanted to talk about is that last evening, the council approved our proposal for the change in the trash fee. That is not an item that's approved by the board, but we just wanted everyone to be, all of you to be aware that that we got that approved. Daniel and I've been working on that since March of about a month after I got here. We've been working on that. But we've worked with the mayor's office very closely. Mayor Terry's been supportive of us getting this put together. So we're no longer in a situation where some of our sewer funds have been helping pay for the trash fee. So that's going to help the utility in the future with funding for projects on the sewer side. So that's now approved and will go into effect this month. And thanks to Daniel and Ella and Travis for the work that they've been doing on messaging. They've done a lot of good work on that as we've gone through. And but that was approved last night, and I'm happy to have that behind us, to be honest. So that's all I had. The weather is really nice outside, but that doesn't mean we're not still dealing with the snowstorm. So I'll leave it for Bob.
Yeah, excuse me, I just wanted to give you an update. 2 weeks ago, we were in here and it wasn't beautiful outside, and I was talking about the main breaks. Well, as of this morning, our crews have been out and we fixed 91 main breaks. We still have 7, I believe, to go, maybe, no, 8 now that I got one on Malloy that you'll find it out quick. But just because it's disappearing out there and it's becoming nice, it's creating different problems. Because as that snow melts, if you see it going down into the drains and stuff, it's ending up at our plants, which is keeping our plant people on their toes too. So it's a nonstop effort, and I just wanted to keep you guys up to date because our guys are still out there. Just because it's beautiful outside, they got a little nicer weather to work in, but they're still working very long days. Can't thank them enough, and been out there talking to them as much as I can. But, they're still out there. So nice weather doesn't necessarily mean we're caught up. We did finally get the asphalt plant did finally open back up. So of those 90 some odd, probably 75% of those were in the roadways. So they all have to be patched. So if people call you, be patient. They've got a very long list of holes to patch in throughout the city. So I know Steve gets those calls. I'm sure most of you guys get those too. So just know that we're out there.
I never doubted it, Bob.
I know, but this behind the scenes stuff that you guys don't always hear about. So
No, I'm glad. Appreciate the updates from all of you. Anyone else from staff? Anybody in the audience have a comment they'd like to make? Doesn't look like it. Not, that's all I've got. So I think at this point, I would take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second. Sure. Have a motion in a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I vote aye. Thank you for coming. We are adjourned.